There is smoke around this right now as Evander Kane's name continuously being linked to one team in particular with ties to their general manager from his day with the Edmonton Oilers. We get huge reports surrounding where Patrik Allvin currently stands as he gauges the market on pending UFAs and specifically Evander Kane as we get reports surrounding his future on the Vancouver Canucks. We're going to break down everything you need to know on these trade reports surrounding Evander Kane, plus an update on two players in particular that has shed their non-contact jerseys for the Vancouver Canucks. There's so much to break down. Now, before we get into these two players that shed their non-contact jerseys with the Canucks during practice today, let's dive into these reports surrounding Evander Kane. Now, we've seen a couple just a few weeks ago that went in to say that Evander Kane's name was someone that's not going to be able to be moved easily. There's not a lot of interest around the league, but we get new reports coming from multiple people. Now, Mayor's Manor, which is a blog for the LA Kings, going to say two separate sources over the past week have indicated that they believe Ken Holland is kicking the tires on a potential Evander Kane trade. Now, with Ken Holland, the former general manager for the Edmonton Oilers, he is now the general manager for the LA Kings with ties to Evander Kane. Going even further, NHL trade reports went and say Ken Holland is kicking tires on a reunion. And going into this report from Rick Dhaliwal and Hartford Borough on 650 radio, we can see, and shout out John Puck as well, Dhaliwal learned that LA rumor a few days ago might take a former GM coach to trade for him, thinks his agent Mills' team probably isn't happy with how it's gone in Vancouver, and people around the league don't know why the Canucks even traded for him in the first place. Now, the big thing with the Canucks, we know they were trying to please Quinn Hughes to keep him with his team by adding what was supposed to be talent to the roster, and it has not worked out. But now with these reports, multiple people, Rick Dhaliwal going out to say that he's heard these rumors starting to surface. We can see all the way to Mayor's Manor saying that two separate sources have spoke on it. It's going to start picking up, and there's some legitimate smoke around the LA Kings. Now with the LA Kings as well, Ken Holland went out to get Fogle and Corey Perry, two players that were under his roster when he was with the Oilers as well. So going to get Evander Kane does make sense for the LA Kings, and I'm not trying to sell him like a used car. I don't need a pat on the hood. We know the value of Evander Kane. Now the big thing is, if a trade was not to happen, the $5.1 million is on its final year, so you're not stuck with a Kane contract for multiple deals and having to give up assets to get off this contract, which is a huge positive for the Canucks. But with Evander Kane, a very prototypical power forward type, you can retain on this as well. With the Canucks having one retained spot used this season with Ilya Mikheyev, the final year of it, of just shy of $750,000, we know the Canucks have two retention spots that they can use going into the deadline. Now, there's going to be an obvious name like Evander Kane. Kiefer Sherwood's an interesting, though very low cap hit. And we can see, of course, the buyouts, the OEL. I just had to put that there because it annoys me every time I see this on Puckpedia. The 4.7 is disgusting, but at the end of the day, if teams are showing legitimate interest, the Canucks can offer Evander Kane half retained. And the big thing with that second retention spot, if you don't want to use it in a Kiefer Sherwood deal, since it's only $1.5 million, you can also use this to kind of be the broker between another team. If you're trading another player, the Canucks take and retain another 25%, then send them. You can still get draft capital in that sense. But diving more into Evander Kane, we know the season has not gone what we expected coming into the year. 21 points in 46 games, a minus 18, which I still believe, I think, is the second worst on the team when it comes to plus minus. Evander Kane is a power forward that has shown success in the playoffs. Of course, the Canucks are not looking at the playoffs anytime soon, but this is a player that a lot of teams are going to start calling on. Looking at the LA Kings right now with 5.3 projected million in cap space and going into the trade deadline, 24.2 million. This is a trade the Canucks can go out and make without retaining, though you're going to get more assets, especially if the Kings want to add even more. Now, going into the Kings draft capital, we know the Canucks give up a legitimate draft pick to bring Evander Kane in. If you can somehow retain a 50%, land that third round pick from the LA Kings or from the Dallas Stars that the Kings both own, you're not getting a second and you're for sure not getting a first for Evander Kane. But at the end of the day, getting any assets for the Canucks, especially with these reports, as I said, two separate sources speaking on the potential trade. We can see Rick Dhaliwal speak on this as well, with a former general manager that went out to once acquire Evander Kane when he did play with the Edmonton Oilers for a couple of seasons. It does make sense for the Canucks to start to gauge the interest on not only teams, but specifically the LA Kings. But fans, what kind of value does Evander Kane have? We know he's jumping up and around this lineup from the top line to the fourth and up to the second. A little hint at what we're going to cover soon. But at the end of the day, there's going to be interest around Evander Kane. The closer you get to the deadline, the smaller the cap is. Let me know your thoughts on Evander Kane. Who do you think is the first domino to fall? Is it Kiefer Sherwood, Evander Kane, someone else? Let me know down in the comments because I love reading through them. But let's go straight into the second report, a real positive one, coming through from Jeff Patterson, Teddy Blueger, and Filip Hronek, both on the ice for the Canucks. Not only that, though, both have shed their non-contact jerseys. Now, I did a video on Filip Hronek recently where he returned to practice. He was wearing a regular jersey, but now seeing the concrete proof that both of these guys are on the ice. And Teddy Blueger was also playing on the penalty kill unit and going up against the Canucks top unit during this battle as well. It is a great sign, not only for Teddy Blueger to get into the lineup, a forward that's been limited quite a bit after being hurt and re-hurt against the Washington Capitals, but for Filip Hronek, an awesome story, a forward that has dealt with a lot throughout his career and looks like he is getting and inching closer to rejoining this team within the lineup. Now, looking at this, the lineup going into their next game, of course, both of these guys are not in. They're just shedding their non-contact. It's going to take time. But we do see some changes to the lineup. Liam Öhgren, Pettersson, and Boeser on the top line. I still don't understand what Linus Karlsson is doing wrong to continuously be taking off Petey's wing, because that is working. And listen, if it's not working in the sense of winning your games, that's fine. Team Tank, we're here for it. But there is some changes. Jake DeBrusk, David Kemp, and Evander Kane. This is not the prettiest line, but listen, we're looking at that first overall pick, so we can live with that as well. Drew O'Connor, Atu Ratu, Conor Garland, and you can see it all fill out. This is the Canucks team that's going to continuously change things up. They're looking to win games when they shouldn't be, but of course, no player on this roster wants to throw the towel in. And just looking at 50 minutes played minimum, DeBrusk, Pettersson, and Karlsson is the best line when it comes to expected goals, percentage, goals for. You can look through. I still don't understand why this continuously gets broken up. But what is your thoughts on these lines? What is your thoughts on the changes? What is your thoughts on Teddy Blueger, who's going to be a big trade piece for the Canucks heading into deadline, and Filip Hronek returning to practice, taking contact, and everything in between? Let me know down in the comments. And with comments, let's go straight into comments of the day. Sure, Vancouver has the highest chance to get the top pick, but who are we kidding? They'll probably drop the third or fourth. Maybe you can talk about who they could get if they drop. And listen, I'll do a full video on this as well. There's one name in particular that the more I watch, and obviously there's ties because of Manny Malhotra, but Caleb Malhotra looks like a legitimate top center coming out of this draft. So if the Canucks drop, and I probably wouldn't reach at 3 with them, but I do hope they look at the option to trade up to land this player. Let me know who you want them to draft down in the comments, and you could be featured on Comment of the Day. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back in another episode, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark Pye, and take care, Canucks fans.